Hi, my name is Leanne. I am a Wiradjuri artist and the founder of Tribila.
I fell in love with landscape drawing and using watercolour pencils in the year of 2012. Although I had a natural ability to draw landscape pictures from a young age, it wasn't until I was connecting to my Aboriginal culture on a spiritual level that I began to understand connection to country through art. From the age of 5, I created artworks where I could imagine the landscape and then draw the artworks. Now I sit in an area and look at the landscape while I draw. With this process, I feel connected to my surroundings and manage to distance myself from any thoughts I previously had before drawing. I feel a part of the landscape, and my concentration shifts to the sight of the country, the sounds, and elements of weather that I feel in all of my senses. Monet was a favourite artist of mine as I related to his study of light when drawing haystacks. Monet would sit for hours at a time in different times of the day and drawing the same haystacks as light would change the appearance of the hay. This process is completely understandable for me as light and time play a major factor in landscape drawing. When drawing Australian ranges or mountains, the sun would reveal different valleys, rocks, or colouring of vegetation. Clouds and weather would play a major role in time as they would shadow certain areas. I found that drawing landscape at a present moment was a completely different style to taking a photograph than heading home to paint. Sitting in an area of Australian bush surrounded by flora, fauna and affected by weather hit my heart on a spiritual level. This was culture for me, connection to country on the deepest level, and I was experiencing this through art. I have never looked back since the first connection I had with landscape drawing. Taking walks and art projects throughout Canberra and the diverse Australian bush proves to be less problematic with watercolour pencils when deciding to sit and draw an actual location that speaks to my heart. I have emptied my watercolour pencils from their tins and placed them in a cloth that can be rolled and tied secure for my backpack. I have several techniques that I use for my landscape drawings, but mostly for our Australian mountains that sit at the depth of my landscape artworks. I use multiple circles as they resemble the eucalyptus treetops from a distance. I have set colours that are always true throughout the entire year, basically because of the eucalyptus species and how hardy it is with the way it thrives in the Australian climate. Each season brings new tones. For instance, summer, I tend to use brown tones more with yellows as the sun is so intense throughout our warmer months and dries the landscape with its heat. Spring and winter, I tend to use blue tones with a combination of brown tones. As the snow melts from the snowy mountains, our rivers are replenished and our riverbanks become rich in colour. There is a strong spiritual connection I have when creating out in the Australian bush. The mainstream world is silenced, and my inner strength and being is woken. I love the smell of the eucalyptus species that cover the rolling hills and steep mountains. I love watching the eucalyptus flower throughout spring that bring colour to the branches in the form of blossoms and birds such as the rosella. It is at this time I feel the most connected to my ancestors, and I strongly believe that this is what I am made for.